Whoever looked at your life and thought there has to be more? Welcome to the Corporate Escapists Podcast, where stories change lives. This is a space for bold women rewriting the rules, building businesses with soul, and choosing legacy over likes. If you're ready to be seen, heard, and valued, you're in the right place. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Corporate Escapists TV show and podcast. I'm your host, Christine Innes. I am so delighted to have the very beautiful Jodi joining us. Welcome to the show, lovely.
Hello, thank you. I'm very happy to be here, Christine.
I'm so excited. You've got such an interesting story and I'm really excited to actually dive into it. I am going to hand it over to you to do a quick introduction and then we're going to dive into some beautiful conversation today.
Okay, sounds great. So I am currently an assistance dog and therapy dog trainer, as well as an animal assisted therapist, primarily for children with using play therapy. But that is not where I've come from. I'm a retired obstetric doctor. So I spent 20 years of my life studying to become a doctor, becoming a doctor, working in clinical medicine, and then in management roles, managing area health services, teaching, which I absolutely love. And then my world came tumbling down when I was diagnosed with PTSD in 2014. So I had to start again, reinvent. And I consider myself a little bit of a master of reinvention because I've had to do it before. But this was a little bit bigger and it brought me to a place of peace that I never thought I would be able to get to. I thought that happiness was this thing that you pursued that was off in the future somewhere, and it was all about the things that you had or the things that you did, the names, the titles that you had, and the roles that you played in everyone else's life. And it wasn't until I came to a bit of a cathartic epiphany that, I am not my roles, I am my values. And that's who I am. And had I not been able to do that, I would not have survived. And I had the help and support of both my beautiful mother, who is in the picture back there, and my amazing dog, Benny. So she became my assistance dog on my mother's advice. She had some really good advice. And she became my assistance dog. And through the process of training her, I learnt everything I needed to know about myself, and I learnt to define myself in a very different way, and that has led me to where I am today. And I'm wanting now to share that you aren't your roles and you can do something else. So many times, particularly doctors in medicine or people who have spent a lot of their life studying to become something, they find it very difficult to think that they're qualified or able to do something different. And you absolutely can. And, I always thought that all of the stuff that I learned, the 20 years of work and effort and energy was lost. And it absolutely was not. I use what I learned in medicine every day in the job that I do and the work that I do now, except the work that I do now comes from a place of values, ethics. And if it's not consistent with my values and ethics, I don't do it.
Oh, we are so aligned in so many ways. I spent 20 something years in corporate, and then I always say the universe sends you three things. It's the feather, the little tickle, like, hey, you're going to listen. Sometimes it's the rock, it falls on your foot, or you get the Mack truck, and you and I have had the Mack truck, and, it's that awakening, I guess, within oneself to really see that there is a different pathway, because we are so taught that you go to school, you get a good job, and then you have fun when you retire. Whereas you can have fun every single day doing a job that lights you up as well. And when things, like you're saying, align to your values, it makes everything, for me, I just see like everything is like falling into place because it's all value aligned. It's not based on what society thinks. It's based on my values. And if it's not aligned, I say, well, thank you so much.
Absolutely. And that's what I think creates peace, which is what
Yeah.
brings happiness. It's not
Yeah.
happiness that brings peace. It's the opposite way around. You have to be
Yeah.
at peace with yourself,
Yes.
with who you are, with what you offer the world and where you are in the world and in your life even. Once you're at peace, happiness follows. And I can't believe, like people used to say all the time, when you find a job that you love, you won't work a day in your life. I love that saying. And I never believed it because I loved medicine. I
Mm,
loved it. I absolutely loved my job. I poured my heart and soul into my work. It did not love me.
yeah.
And now I have a job that I love, that loves me.
Yeah.
And I do it at my own pace. I do it with my dog. Like I don't do anything without Benny.
Yeah.
And it's now so aligned that every day is happy. I come out even a hard day and I still work hard days. Because I work for myself, I
Yeah.
actually probably work harder.
Yes.
Um, but I still do hard days, but I come out of those hard days and I just go, oh, wow, that was so good. So
Yeah.
nurturing for my soul. So just amazing for where I go tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's taken me to a completely different place, but I would never have imagined that this is where I would end up.
Mm,
And if you told me, I wouldn't have believed that that's what I would do.
yeah.
And sometimes even I think society tends to take a bit of a dimmer view when you step down from something in the view of society. And I've taken a giant step down in society's view. And to me, it's the biggest step up. Like it's just been a
Yeah.
giant step up in understanding of self and my capacity to give. You
Yeah.
can only give from a place of where you're healed. You can't give when you're broken and you're
Mm,
breaking every day. And that's what it was like working in medicine. It was breaking me every day.
yeah. Yeah. I look, some of my family still say, why don't you go back into corporate? At least you're going to have steady income, like, all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, oh, yeah, but like it nearly killed me. Like it
Mm.
literally, like I got so sick. So, I mean, it's easier to say it because, like, we've come from the other side. So, if there would have been something that somebody had said to you that maybe would have made you listen or maybe start to have that inkling that it was possible back then? Or do you think that you're still in that like cocoon so much so?
Look, I was deep into pathological giving in every aspect of life. Um, my needs didn't matter. And in fact, I taught everyone around me that my needs didn't matter.
Mm,
And that's led to, there's had to be a bit of adjustment in every relationship I've had since, because that adapting to you then taking care of your needs as well, even in the workplace. It was an enormous adjustment for the people around me. But for me, leaving was bittersweet because I had left school when I was 13, just before my 14th birthday. I'd gone back as an adult after I had my children when I sat down and went, oh my God, I'm not even going to be able to help them with their homework. This can't happen. This is terrible. We need a better future than my childhood, which was relatively difficult. Um, and I just went, I have to do something different. And so when I was 9 months pregnant with my daughter, I went to TAFE and did a course to learn I was 24 years old, learned how to turn on the computer.
wow.
Um, and then from there, I did this fantastic course filled with again, people who didn't see or define you by where you'd come from. They waited to see what you offered before they defined anything about you. And these people were just amazing. That was the STEPS course at Central Queensland University. We went to the 20-year reunion and everything. But that course changed my life. And there was one lady, and this is my ethos now, is one person can make a difference in someone's life. And that one lady, so I was brought up to believe by my father that I was very unintelligent and I'd never make anything of myself. And he was quite physically abusive. So there was domestic violence. I was afraid of everything, afraid of my own shadow. And I believed that rhetoric. I believed that I was unintelligent. And I went into this course and I absolutely excelled in math. And the math teacher came to me one day and she just said to me, Lois said, what do you want to do with yourself? And I said, I want to do medicine. I'd been interested since I was a young girl in veterinary science, but I thought let's make it a little bit. And so I thought, why not? She's asking. And I absolutely thought she would dismiss me. She flipped the whiteboard over and started writing down what I needed to do. And I cried. I'm like, this woman believes I can do that. You've got to be kidding. And to have somebody in your life, just that one person, say what you need to hear at the right time to give you that sense of capacity, that sense of self-efficacy. But that's what my life is about now. It's about giving that back, what Lois gave to me that day back. And I think if you can do that for somebody else, it's extraordinary.
Oh, absolutely. It's my whole why. I never want anyone to feel alone. I never want anyone to
Mm,
feel alone in their journey. Like it's the story, like that story is going to highlight for somebody else and to let them know that there are advocates out there for other people. And I think, this is the biggest thing is that, we've gotten to a place where we're so scared because shame and guilt fills us up so much that we actually don't want to share our story. But we don't realize the impact and also the hope that it can give for somebody else by you being raw and vulnerable. And I'm a big believer that when you share your story, you take ownership, but also too, you actually release shame and guilt because nobody can come back at you because you're not hiding it anymore
absolutely.
with it. So with the journey that you've gone through, and you talked a little bit about like I love relatable skills. Like I just think it's like everybody doesn't realize that, I look at my daughter-in-law, she's an amazing mom. And I'm like going, like time management, like she knows how to schedule like anything, And I just don't think people realize that today's gift, people have this innate ability to not see their own gifts. And how did you then start to see the gifts that you had learned in your career that can also transfer over to something else?
When I started training Benny, she had behavioural issues, and so she taught me so much. And I believe everyone's a teacher. I've always believed that
Yeah.
everyone can teach you something. So I'm always open to learning. Um, and when I started to realise that Benny was teaching me how to be more human, more compassionate, more patient, more kind, I realised that there was an intrinsic medical benefit because I was starting to heal. I guess the bit that's missing from that story is that PTSD is what stopped me from working in medicine. Um, I attempted suicide in 2014 as a result of work-related PTSD. As a first responder, you see some things that human eyes probably shouldn't ever see. And recovering from that um, through training Benny is what made me realize that there's a health benefit associated because I started to get better. Training her started to make me feel better. And I thought, well, what's in that? And then I started training other people's dogs, helping them to have their assistance dogs, unaccredited albeit. Um, and I started to train other people. And then I had a young client say to me one day, and I'll never forget it, I don't know why you don't do this for a living. I said, this is what I do for a living now. And she said, no, no, no. You're like my therapist. It's not just like dog training. And that's when I started to explore how the two worlds meet. How does training an animal neurophysiologically help us to recover? And I started to do a little bit of research when I was able again to use my brain. It took a while. But when I was able to use my brain again, I started to do some research into how those two facets of my life could come together. And it was the only way I could work again. I couldn't use my skills and qualification to do medicine again. I couldn't go back there. And I really wasn't qualified to do anything else. So I thought, how can I do that? And when I started to train and do the counselling and psychotherapy, animal assisted psychotherapy courses, I started to see where the two come together. And it's just a piece of magic that happens in play therapy, particularly with young children. The self-efficacy that it builds, the self-esteem that it builds, training a dog to do something. My dogs are trained to pretend they don't know what they're doing because they're trained in each of the components. So I keep the stepwise components of the complex tasks. So like Benny can open and close fridge doors and cupboards and drawers. But she is taught the individual components of that task so that when a child tries to teach her that, they think they've taught her that because she just goes to that one step, not the next step, the next step, the next step.
Yeah.
So usually when we train a complex task, we take away all the intervening steps and we just ask for the complex task. But yeah, that's when I started to realize that I hadn't lost anything. Like
Yeah.
truly, I could use the skills in people management, the skills, the psychiatry skills that I'd learned, the psychological skills in terms of um, client interactions and how to help people through a difficult situation. None of that was lost.
Yeah.
And transferring those skills was actually a lot easier than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And I use them every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Do you still like with yourself, do you still sometimes like have these like, can't believe it took me so long to realize, or I had to go through all of this to realize that there was a light at the end of the tunnel, and it wasn't, and I always say it's not another train coming, because there is a light, there is this world of happiness, like you're saying, like joy and happiness that we've probably never truly experienced because we're fulfilled ourselves and we're then helping fulfill other people.
Yes. Look, it really did take me longer than I think it could have. Perhaps in the first complete transformation, I might have been able to see that. But really, you have to let go of the chasing, the
Yeah.
chasing of happiness. It's that stops you from actually receiving happiness because it's not off over there, it's in here.
Yeah.
So for me, I almost needed, and now I see PTSD as an absolute gift. If I had not have experienced that hardship, like without the dark, you can't see the light.
Yeah.
Um, and I had my whole life pulled out from underneath. So my career was gone. My relationship broke down. I'd been with my partner for 30 years. Um, it didn't survive the suicide attempt. It didn't survive the aftermath. After he left, my finances were in an absolute mess. I ended up bankrupt. And I felt bankrupt in every way. It impacted my recovery, impacted on my relationships with my children, and of course, having a mental health diagnosis. People ran like rats off a sinking ship. It was really interesting, but what that gave me is the most amazing gift. I know the people I surround myself with now are the people who stayed. They're the
Yeah.
people who will stay.
Yeah.
They're the people you can count on when life is full of flowers and roses and wonderful and really dark and the tunnel's coming and you can't even see the train.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know I'm surrounded by amazing people, and they're a handful. That I'm no longer surrounded by 600 people.
Yeah.
I was incredibly socially connected. I had lots of friends. I thought I had lots of friends. Um, and just like we would have dinner parties every other week. But all of those relationships were related to my work. So when you lose your work, you by nature lose all of those relationships as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, all of those were roles though. And again, I'm brought back to this is when I realized that I could be happy and what happiness really is peace. Was when I stopped defining myself by my roles according to society or other people. I
Yeah.
am a mum and I always will be, and it was one of the greatest roles I ever had in my life. I absolutely genuinely loved being a mum, still do. Um, that's the greatest gift. But PTSD was a gift as well because I'm no longer working like that. I'm no longer so sleep deprived that I can't speak straight. I'm no longer trying to fit life in between. That's the term I used. God, I have to do something. I've got to fit life in between
Mm.
because I didn't want to miss those special times with the kids and the family. And so we went on international holidays, we spent money. And in the end, that was a problem as well. Like,
Yeah.
um, for me, it's just brought me to a place where, uh, like again, if it's not aligned with my values and it's not good for me, I won't do it, even if
Yeah.
it's better for somebody that I love. And that's been a hard journey for the people I love, because there have been tests and times where I've had to prioritize myself because I don't have the same, I don't have the same ginormous income and the backup plan. And I used that. Like I had to call on all of my insurances. If anybody's listening, make sure you have good good insurances in your super. Um, so I had to call on all of my insurances to survive it and dig myself out of that hole.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's been a blessing in the end, and I now see it that way. I couldn't see that at the time. At the time, it was just a whole lot of darkness, and
Yeah.
my parents were so robust. Like as difficult as my dad was, he could survive anything,
Mm.
and mum was like that as well. Like they were just so robust. I think perhaps the times they were brought up in and the way they were brought up, they just had to keep going. So they gave me that resilience,
Yeah.
and I was able to keep swimming for now, and something will come.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you after this is saying it's probably not appropriate. There's a lot of swear words in it. They're saying my dad was saying, but just make sure your head's above the water sort of thing. He'd go into a lot more detail. But the thing that I found in my journey, and I'd love to know your insights, is the identity shift. So my son only knew me as the mum who worked in corporate, doing the 80 odd hour weeks. And, that was my role, that was my title. I had staff underneath me, all that. And then when everything all came crashing down, so I got diagnosed with two left-handed illnesses. I also filed for bankruptcy, went through a toxic marriage, filed for domestic violence, all those sorts of things. But it was the identity shift. And now he gets to see what I feel like is the real me. It's like the true essence of myself he now gets to explore. And I feel like that's a really great gift. But it's also been an identity shift for myself, but it's also been an identity shift for them as well to see you in a new light. Like, have you experienced that as well?
That's been probably one of the most difficult parts of this whole journey. And that's that every relationship had to be redefined. And one of the things I've written a beautiful poem about it. You will never see things through someone else's eyes, and your child doesn't see what came before they existed.
Yeah.
So they don't see that part of you, like the struggling young girl that had no self-esteem, that could do nothing right. Like I failed my learner's driving test 7 times because of anxiety, because I thought I was too stupid to pass it. I was 21 before I got a learner's. And then I deferred to other people because I didn't think I was safe enough to drive. But they never saw that. My kids saw the capable, confident. The day I graduated from medicine, because my father used to use really derogatory terms for me, and one of them was subordinate as I got older, idiot, stupid, all that kind of stuff. When I walked up and got that a medical degree, all of those words and that entire past just exited. It just disappeared. I never defined myself that way ever again.
Yeah.
And that's what my children knew of me. This capable doctor who was at the height of her profession, doing well, managing area health services, huge income, everything's great. We get to go on international holidays. That's the life that my children had. Um, and they didn't see what came before. And it's a huge adjustment for people to make, and we don't know how they see us, right? Because we don't have their perspective, we only have our own. I see the whole me, and you know what? The inside part of me has never been any different. And that's something with weight as well. So I've struggled with my weight a lot in my life. Mum struggled with her weight as well, but it was something that occurred in response to an early sexual assault when I was young. And I've always struggled with weight. And I lost a lot of weight when I got sick. I lost a lot of weight. They
Mhm.
thought I had cancer. They're like, oh my God, are you okay? And I lost a lot of weight. I got fit and healthy. I did a half Ironman. I did half marathons. I got really
Wow.
fit and healthy. And now I'm overweight again. And it's really interesting that the parallel between what you were just talking about with shifting that whole who you are, it even happens in the smaller parts of change. So when you change something about yourself, I don't see anything different. I am the same me that I was. I'm much more peaceful and much more happy, and I cope better with life.
Yeah.
But I'm the same me that I was at 11. I'm the same me that I was when I graduated from medicine, the same me that I was when I had my beautiful children, and I'm the same me now. This is packaging. And
Yeah.
I believe that that's what the external world judges you by. They judge you by your packaging. How do you come across? Does she speak confidently? Can she hold the room? Can she present at conferences? How does
Mm.
she go under pressure?
Yeah.
Um, and what does she look like? Like
Yeah.
those are the things that people judge you by, and none of those are me. Not
Yeah.
one of them,
Yeah.
actually. Um,
Yeah.
there's a whole deeper, more meaningful person underneath every individual that you see and meet. And that's how
Mm.
I like to meet people. I like to make a bit of a soul connection rather than so I ask even my parents, I call this where we come for play therapy is P3, play pause psychotherapy. And I called it P3 on purpose so that children didn't have to have the word therapy in how they remembered where they
Mm.
came. And that
Yeah.
gets dropped at the door. All labels, and we talk about that in our booking in consult. Like, I want you to drop all labels at the door. We don't use those. We do
Yeah.
strengths-based work here.
Yeah.
That's what I work. I meet them at their soul level. Who is this beautiful little individual? What do they have to offer the world? And how can we enhance that?
Yeah.
Not how can we fix all the problems? Because um, so neuroscience tells us the more you focus, we use this in dog training as well, so many parallels. Um, Neuroscience tells us that the more you focus on the negative, the more of the negative you will get. So that whatever you focus on,
Mm.
you're going to get more of. So with children, we use the analogy, and this comes from Landreth, child-centered play therapy. His model, um, the donut, not the whole. So we focus on the donut, which is all the good, squishy, wonderful, tasty bits about the child. The more you focus on the whole, the bigger the whole gets. And that's the
Yeah.
behavioural issue and the problem. The problems can be resolved by skills-based training. The same is true in dog training. So the problem when a dog comes to me with a behavioural issue, it's missing a skill. There's a
Yeah.
skill this dog needs. And let's see what the strengths are and how we can work that skill into those strengths. And
Yeah.
then the behavioural problem manages itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody has a gift. And I think that's, what I'm loving, what you're saying, because I think every single human being has a gift to give to the world. And we've just got to be able to help bring that out. And I
Yes.
think, when you've gone through, I call them moments in life, when you've had those moments, those challenges and all of that, you get to see people's gifts a lot easier, because as you said, you're looking deeper. You're not looking at
Mm.
surface level anymore. You're going deeper into the individual. I just want to ask you a couple more questions. The How has it been shifting from obviously working for somebody else, and obviously you've been in leadership roles and that, in the previous career, but now coming as a business owner, like what was that transition for yourself?
It was a little bit scary, but I almost didn't have an option. And I think sometimes that's actually a really good place to be. I almost didn't have, there was no backup plan. Like, what else was I
Yeah.
going to do? The first thing I did, and I didn't succeed on the first thing I did. The first thing I did was set up a dog grooming business. And then I learned about nutrition and massage, and neither of those worked. The grooming business was a hit, but I didn't like it because I love dogs and they don't like being groomed. Um, so it just didn't align with my wanting to be positive. And the thing that was missing, the piece that was missing, was giving back
Yeah.
to people and being helping in a helping role. Um, and I have absolutely loved being in business, absolutely loved working for myself, dictating my own hours. It's helped me greatly when there's been challenges in life. So my beautiful mum passed away this time last year in over Easter on the 19th of April, and my dad passed away 4 months beforehand. And being able to care for them in their last days of life. So I help care for them and give the medication, and which helped the family. But it also was a massive catharsis for me. So being able to help somebody who had been deeply hurtful and still hold compassion for them. Even after that, I was like, I don't even know where that came from.
Yeah.
But I see Dad and I see everyone as people doing the best that they can with what they have at the time.
Yeah.
And my dad, he had it pretty rough when he was growing up, and he did absolutely the best that he could. It wasn't great, but he
Mm.
did the best that he could at the time. Um, and then being able to do the same thing with somebody that had held so much compassion to you. My mother was amazing, an amazing human being. And she's the reason I think that I thought I could succeed in business. My mother had a business detailing cars when I was 13. When I finished school, that's where I went. I worked 80 hours a week. It's like, it was huge. Like, it was a massive
Yeah.
lesson in hard work and ethic, but also a lesson in what you can do. And my mum was really mousy and very not confident. She lived with a man who, up until I was 7, regularly beat her. Um, to his credit, he stopped doing that. He was still abusive in other ways, but she lived with that, and she
Mm.
was still able to be successful in business in her own right. It was called Sue's Detailing. That's her name. It was her
Wow.
business,
Yeah.
and that just gave me the strength, I think, to think that I
Yeah.
could do that. And I've absolutely loved it ever since. It's been beautiful. Again, it's just that giving back to me as much as I give to it. It's just it's soul fulfilling to do the work I do. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Well, I look, I absolutely love everything that you stand for. If anyone take anything out of today, please know your values. I think a lot of people don't even know what their values are, and make sure that you're living life in alignment to those values. I think that's the biggest thing because it's a game changer. Like it should be taught in schools, so much so,
Absolutely.
with it. I've got 4 quick questions to ask you, and this is to get to know you on a more of a personal, basis. Do you have a favorite motivational quote?
Probably be the change you want to see in the world. That's Nelson Mandela, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. What about a book to read?
A book to read, probably Bessel van der Kolk's The Body Keeps the Score, but that's very
Oh,
clinical. But
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
wonderful way that you can see the juxtaposition between how you live your life, your values, and what you do,
yeah,
and what you're exposed to, and the impact that that can have on every part of your well-being.
yeah, absolutely. Who is an inspirational person that we should all follow?
That we should all follow. Um, Somebody that gives me inspiration, probably more lately than any other time, is Mel Robbins.
Oh, yes.
Um, I love her lap them theory, and that's got me through a few difficult interactions with people in my life more recently. And yeah, the lap them theory, I just love that because it's not harmful either. Like, I think that you need to hold compassion. When you can forgive and hold compassion for people that were extremely difficult or even caused you harm, it
Yeah,
sets you free.
yeah,
If you can let people be who they are and stop expecting something different. Like, that was my problem with Dad. I always expected something different. He couldn't change. That's who he was.
that's
When you accepted it, you could love him truly for who he is. And that's an incredible gift. Not for what you see and not for what society expects him to be, but for who he is.
yeah, absolutely. And not what you expect to get out of a relationship too.
No,
So I
exactly.
think that's a big thing. Is there anyone in your sphere that you think should also be on the podcast?
I don't know if she's probably already been on the podcast, but Roxanne McCarty-O'Kane.
uh, do you know what? She has not been on my podcast, which I know she has, but she hosts a lot of my events, and yeah, we do quite a bit of work together. But I will get her on the podcast
Yes.
because she's been in the
What an
magazine and
amazing,
everything. Yeah,
an amazing
yeah,
inspirational, a true example of someone who's living to their values.
yes,
What she does is inspirational. I love what she does, and it's not it's not a small thing helping somebody to write a book. That's
no,
that's how I met her,
yeah.
writing my book, which is over the other shoulder. um, Benny, the best medicine has pause. So she helped me through every step of that
Yeah,
process. And she didn't just stop there. She came to my book launch. She's helping me to market. And some of that is all in her own time. She's just a really lovely human being, very, very ethical and also very values based.
Yes, she was the host actually at the MC for our Inspire Awards last year. So she is a
Lovely.
beautiful human. So I know her very well. So
Yes, she is.
I will definitely I'll message her actually when we get off and I'll say to her, hey, you need to go on the show. So well, I just want to say thank you so much for being here, sharing your story and your gifts with us. And yeah, like I am just so grateful for the message that you're sharing out there to the world.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. And for all of those who are listening, we're going to pop all the details of how you can reach out to Jodi as well. And yeah, if you've got any questions, make sure you leave them below. Make sure that you hit the like and subscribe button. And remember to live life to the fullest every single day. Love and light to you all.
Whoever looked at your life and thought there has to be more? Welcome to the Corporate Escapists Podcast, where stories change lives. This is a space for bold women rewriting the rules, building businesses with soul, and choosing legacy over likes. If you're ready to be seen, heard, and valued, you're in the right place.